So next up is Hannah. How you doing there, Hannah? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing all right.
Okay.
How about you, Armin?
Good. What's your question?
So, well, it's not really a question. It's more like a discussion topic. So I just called in because I wanted to discuss the communitarian case against secularism, or why I think communitarianism provides a good case for religion and against secularism. So I don't know how familiar either of you. Do either of you have any familiar with communitarian philosophy?
Yeah, I think communitarians have to be the greatest advocates of secularism, actually, given that increases more opportunities for society to come up with the glue that holds communities together, instead of just having one that dominates the entire one society.
Well, no, I mean, for example, the people I was going to reference, Charles Taylor and Patrick Deneen, are both, to my saying, pretty critical of secularism and of naturalism. Could I just have a minute to just run down their argument and the basic point?
Sure, but can you do it quick, because we're over time and there's also another person waiting.
Sure. So basically, communitarianism is a philosophy which stresses the moral importance of community shaping subjectivity, and its traces its intellectual lineage to thinkers like certain interpretations of Aristotle and especially Hegel. And people like Charles Taylor and Patrick Deneen point out that our selfhood with a capital S is bound up with the dialectic with others, and as opposed to sort of an atomistic view of the individual as detached from community. And basically what I would argue is because of the fact that religion presents shared moral fabric, it provides a strong basis for this dialectic and of community. Is it
the only way? Is it the only thing that could do that? Is religion the only thing that could do that? Not necessarily.
Well,
why don't we? Secularism. First of all, secularism does not remove religion from society. Okay, it just only it avoids one of them dominating over the other ones. Okay, secularism actually allows communities to have religion. Okay, it just doesn't regulate them. It doesn't suppress them. It allows them the freedom to express their religion. So secularism is not anti communities having religious beliefs. Okay, and also if you need a glue for community, for people. So the way I look at it, there's three levels. There's the individual level, there's the state level, but there's something in between that holds societies together, which is the community level. And the communitarians believe that the individual and the state is not enough to hold community, people together. There's something missing in between, and that's where they come in and believe in the power of communities. But the religion is not the only glue and the only excuse. I mean, there are so many things. You could have chess clubs. You could have Dungeons and Dragons. You could have fans. We could have the ACA. Okay, the ACA shows that there are so many ways of providing that missing glue that bonds us together without religion. And secularism provides a level playing field for everybody to compete. In fact, if you don't have secularism, maybe ideas that are not the best, not the best ways of maintaining a community, will dominate without anyone else having the opportunity to compete with it. Secularism provides you the communities, the society, the opportunity for all of these different methods to have a fair chance of competing with each other and have the best solution to provide this need for societies.
Well, I would argue that the problem is that secular communities, I think you have to look into the history of how the problem with secular, well, first of all, when I say secularism, I mean cultural secularism, not just political secularism. I don't just mean separation of church and state. I mean specifically the idea that of rejecting religion on a cultural level. But what I'm trying to argue is that
are secular people missing out here? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, but could I just finish my point? So one of the things that I've read is from people like Charles Taylor and his reading of people like Max Weber and others, is that throughout history, most people have gained meaning through a narrative, and that's like sort of like what Jordan Peterson talks about with like a metaphysical substrate. You could say like the idea that there's a transcendent logos that makes reality intelligible, the idea that life is purposeful, there's a shared moral code, that each individual is created with transcendent value, et cetera, and that nowadays, because those things are
Hannah, the reason why I interrupt you is because we have to, we need to keep this really short. John has a point, and then I have a point, but go on, John.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say this is a really complex topic to bring up at the very end of the show. And I realize that you didn't call in necessarily to be at the end of the show, but we do need to sort of keep this kind of quick because we're over time and everything like that. So I'm trying to get everybody in that has been waiting for so long. So, I mean, just let's try to wrap this up though.
Just really quick, Hannah. I don't think just really quick. When you say metaphysical, I don't really think that you just need something greater than yourself, something that creates a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be metaphysical. Okay, it could be nationalism. It could be a sense of service to your country. It doesn't have to be metaphysical. It doesn't like we have shown that there are many things that could provide the same feelings, the same service, satisfy the same desires, and create the same bond, and give you the same sense of collective identity without it being metaphysical.
But I think one of the things that's important to point out there is how historically religion as a glue. Like I'll just take an example from my own faith tradition. So I'm a Noahide, which means that I'm a non-Jewish person who subscribes to Jewish religion. And so there are many
Hannah, that's
Jews,
anecdotal. That's anecdotal. Hannah, we need to move up. That is anecdotal. What I agree with you that that's historically religion has provided that role.
Provide the example first, please, because I've called them.
No, because that's anecdotal. That's anecdotal, and we need to move on. John said we need to move on, okay? And that's anecdotal, and something that has been throughout history the same way. That doesn't mean it needs to be the same way going forward. We have seen secular societies not missing out anything, okay? We have seen societies without that religious bond doing just fine. In fact, they on happiness index and everything else, they're performing better than many other countries, okay? So we're not missing out on anything. Based on you're talking about philosophers, you're talking about rational. I'm talking about empiricism, which my empiricism always does better than your rationalism. And empirically, societies without religion are not missing out on anything. They're the happiest countries in the world, on average.
Let me finish my point. You'll realize it's not anecdotal. The problem is that, like, I called like towards the beginning of the show, and I had a point.
Hannah,
like, you haven't.
Like, I understand, Hannah. I understand, and I'm so sorry that you waited for so long to get to this point. But we do need to close out the show. So I implore you to call in on another time. Maybe try to call in like as soon as the show starts up, or even before the show starts up. So I would implore you to do that, because this is an in-depth conversation. You deserve to have an in-depth conversation with somebody about it. And I hope that you can get in on another call in the future. But right now we're kind of limited on time.
I know, but it's literally, my point is literally just a minute long is what I'm saying. If you just give me 1 minute, literally, and then we can end the call here. Please.
All right. Well, 1 minute.
Okay. So basically the 1 minute point I was just trying to make, for example, from my own community, my own faith tradition is there are many people who are of Jewish heritage. For example, the sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, he was a secular Jew, and I use him as a good example because he took his inspirations and his critiques of globalism and advocacy for community from traditional Jewish concepts like tzedakah, and people like, and other Jews have not. Like, for example, Hannah Arendt was Jewish, but she completely rejected religious tradition. And even though I really like her in some respects, I think her anti-Zionism and other things is really shameful. But, like, for example, that's an example where even people who don't necessarily subscribe completely to the doctrine still get searching for meaning in transcendent values. And in a lot of classical religious sources, communitarian ideals like charity, respecting your parents, etc., are valued. And I think that's a traditional source of meaning in Judeo-Christian culture. But
That's
I
1
mean,
minute. That's
if you guys
you
don't
did
know-
exactly what I thought you're gonna do. These are examples, okay? And you didn't show that there's nothing that we don't have better ways of achieving the same thing. You telling me that religious bonds and religious, metaphysical beliefs gets us to here does not show that this is the only way, or if this is the best way. The best way is to let all of these different methods compete. And society, through a Darwinian competition, we will see who will be able to produce the best societies and the best bonds and the best communities. Anyways.
Okay. Well, you're running on certain time, but I just want to say thanks for taking my call. It's unfortunately we couldn't take it earlier, but goodbye and good end of the show.
And call back
right.
again. This is an interesting conversation, so I enjoyed talking to you. So yeah.